Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. Your host here, Matt. I'll be your buzzing as always. Back at home, guys. Got the good podcast set up back in Toronto. It was an incredible rip in Argentina. Had a great time and super happy to be back. Minus the weather, it's tough going from 30 Celsius to -5. But c'est la vie. Can't change the weather, but it is good to be back at home. Time for today's guest and intro, guys. This one's going to be a banger. Privacy is front and center. And we have an absolute electric coin ecosystem protocol. I mean, can't even wait to get into the protocol. Don't really know if it's an L1 or an L2, maybe a privacy protocol. We're going to get into all that. Today we have Dr. Rand Hindi on the show today, entrepreneur and deep tech investor, founder and CEO at Zama, an investor in over 50 companies across privacy, AI, blockchain, and medtech. He started coding at the age of 10. Wish I also did that, but instead I was playing Call of Duty. He founded a social network at 14, started his PhD at 21, and then created Snips, a privacy-centric AI startup that was acquired by Sonos. Also holds a BSc in computer science and PhD in bioinformatics. Wow, that's a big word, from UCL. Holy, what a banger of a bio. Rand, welcome to the show, my friend. Pumped to have you on. How you doing this lovely evening?
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Glad to be here. Love the show, love privacy. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Likewise, I'm pumped. Let's get right into it here. Guys, we're recording. And again, this episode is going to air end of 2025. Not quite the end, but you guys get the gist of it here. This year, we had a couple themes in crypto. We had the decentralized perp dexes absolutely blow up, the hyperliquids, the lighters. We had privacy. We had institutional flows like crazy. That was pretty much it. There wasn't a whole lot out this year, really nothing. But I think the number one thing was privacy, especially over the last couple months, with Zcash going absolutely parabolic. So let's get into it. Zcash, Rand, what's your 2 cents on this? What's the TLDR? Was this legit? Is this manufactured? Is this people looking for exit liquidity? Or is this real privacy and people going, shit, we are about to be surveilled up the yin yang and we need a coin where we actually have some privacy? What is the TLDR on Zcash and privacy for 2025?
I've been like a long-term Zcash holder, right? And at some point, you kind of even give up on privacy. You're like, maybe people really do not care. I think what happened recently, the reason why Zcash is pumping, is because all of a sudden we've started having institutions moving to blockchain, and institutions want privacy, right? Like there's no chance that a bank is going to use a stable coin if all of their bank accounts are public. There's no chance, a $2 trillion asset manager is going to use a blockchain if everybody can see their trades. And so privacy went from being a nice to have for people in crypto to being a must have because of institution adoption. And Zcash has always been a beacon of interest in privacy. So just like Bitcoin is the first to pump when there is like an altcoin season, Zcash is the first to pump when there's a privacy season.
Interesting. Okay, I like that. But do you think this was manufactured at all? A lot of fun on the timeline, Rand. People were like, this is
I don't
exit
think so,
liquidity.
man.
This is just
I don't think so.
it's the narrative.
People have been trying to prop up privacy coins for a decade, right? It never worked. The reason why it's happening now is because the timing is right. The problems people had in blockchain before were not privacy. Initially when Bitcoin started, what people were trying to do is programmable blockchains. Ethereum brought that. Then after programmable blockchains, people were like, okay, it would be nice if we could actually scale that and actually do, more than 5 transactions per second. ZK rollups, all of these things, Solana solved that. The last remaining thing to solve for blockchain to be massively adopted is privacy. So privacy is like, it's like the final boss in a video game that you have to beat before blockchain realizes its real full potential. It's just the timing is right for this to happen. It could not have been another time.
That's such a good line. Privacy is the final boss of blockchain. I absolutely love that. Okay. Before we get into Zama and what you guys are doing, and I can't wait to get into this. I don't want to get into some doomsday talk here, Rand, but give me sort of the second half of the 2020 decade. What's it going to look like privacy-wise? I have a couple of friends who've been to China recently. They've told me about the surveillance, the cameras everywhere, the fingerprints, the retinal scans, absolutely everything. I mean, heck, I just left Argentina. Every time on the way in, they scan my eyeballs, they scan my finger. Way out, same thing. I've never had a criminal record, nothing like that. not bringing anything over the border. Like what's going on? Is this really needed? What is the second half of 2020 look like privacy wise?
I think things are getting pretty scary right now. Just the past few days, for example, there was like a massive data breach in France. The the servers of the government of the
What?
basically the defense ministry got hacked, and the hackers stole the criminal records, but also the victims' complaints of 16 million French citizens. Not just that, they hacked the database of the French IRS. So now they know how much money everybody has, where they live, who the relatives are. Put that in context of the French government now also mandating that you disclose your crypto wallets to them.
Yeah.
And it basically means that criminals have a full record of your crypto wallets, your home address, your family address. It's insane. And the only reason why this happens is because of an overarching, I would say, like surveillance mentality of governments at the moment. Like this is wrong on so many levels. Like it has never prevented anything. All it's doing is creating more risk when a data breach like that is happening. So my concern, to be honest, is that nobody's stopping that, right? Like nobody's stepping up saying this is too much, this is enough. Like let's just stop this nonsense of mass surveillance. But actually, the SEC recently just had like a talk on privacy and came out saying, well, maybe we don't want total surveillance of finance. Maybe blockchain and maybe
Hmm.
regulators aren't to the service of KYC companies, and maybe people should be allowed to send $1,000 to their mom for Christmas without this being flagged by the IRS and 100,000 people potentially accessing that. So it looks like a turning point, honestly. It looks like a moment where people realizing that we've gone too much on the side of surveillance, and we now need to find a middle ground between compliance, which is needed, clearly, and freedom, which is non-negotiable.
It's gonna be scary, man. I mean, again, I'm Canadian. I live in Canada. I know all this stuff is coming as well. I mean, everyone heard about the famous thing with the truckers during
Yep.
COVID, where if you were a trucker and protested, you got debanked. Like it's going to happen, and it's scary. Let's get into Zama here. And I know this ties in with sort of the challenges of privacy and transparency, and that's something you guys are
Mhm.
trying to fix. Obviously, this came out at the perfect time. Give us the TLDR on what exactly Zama is, mainnet in the works, token launch, I believe next month, early mid-Jan. I could
Mhm.
be wrong there, but give us sort of the TLDR, and then we'll get into the fun stuff.
To give maybe a little bit of background on Zama, we've been around since 2020 working on this technology called fully homomorphic encryption, FHE. The idea of FHE is that you can compute blindly on encrypted data without actually having to see it. So think of it as a way to have privacy in any kind of online service or blockchain that you're actually using. What we recently have been working on is the Zama protocol, which effectively uses FHE to add a layer of confidentiality on top of existing public blockchains like Ethereum, like Solana,
Mm.
like Binance, and everything else. So this is really about effectively enabling people to have confidential tokens, confidential DeFi, confidential staking on top of existing public chains they're using today.
Every chain we're talking. Mo-
Potentially,
Most of
yeah.
the big ones, yeah.
Oh, it could be anything, really, to be fair. I mean, we have to start somewhere. So we're starting with Ethereum first, but the technology is chain agnostic. In fact, the blockchain itself that we deploy on doesn't have to change anything. You don't need to change the way the EVM works or have to change the way the wallet works. People ask me very often, they're like, how does it feel to use Zama for confidentiality on Ethereum? I'm like, well, honestly, it just feels like using Ethereum because we're not trying to convince people to use something different. We're trying to bring privacy to whatever they're already doing today.
Okay, so without going too deep into the weeds, because we're going to lose a lot of
Mhm.
folks, myself included here, mates. How does Zama guarantee that the data stays encrypted and verifiable at the same time? Because that's all blockchain is. It's blocks of
Right.
data moving from one piece or one part to another, one address to another.
Yep.
Right now, you can see absolutely everything. It's one of the big things that kills us. I mean, a great
Mhm.
example is currently in DeFi and in decentralized trading perps, where a big whale comes in and he gets hunted. It's terrible. That's
All,
just
all of those credit cards, people have
bingo.
debit cards in their wallets,
Yeah.
boom. everything you pay for, people can see it.
Completely,
Right?
completely open.
This is wrong then. Let's be clear about something. Nobody wants public visibility of their personal data on blockchain. What we want is public verifiability that the blockchain did what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's a very, very important distinction. In the case of FHE, it allows you to compute on encrypted data. So when you make a transaction, let's say I want to send you some confidential USDC, I would encrypt the amount. Your balance on chain would be updated while being encrypted. Nobody will be able to see your balance or the amount because the way that it is encrypted with FHE allows you to run a smart contract on the encrypted data itself. So technically, the blockchain is doing its job, which is I'm executing a smart contract on a piece of data. The only difference is that piece of data is an encrypted piece of data. So public verifiability just comes from being able to rerun the encrypted computation.
Okay.
I think if you want a good way to think about FHE, imagine like I have the box, okay? Like a box, the box is like black, so you can't really see what's inside the box, okay? On that box, you have a button that sprays red paint on whatever is inside the box. Then maybe there is another button that kind of just like, squashes whatever is inside, okay? So these are your two like functions. I put an object in the box. I give you the box. You have no idea what's inside, but you can press the button to paint it red. You can press the other button to make it smaller. Give me the box back. I open it with my key and I can retrieve an object which is now red and smaller. So you see, so you've been able to modify the content of the box without actually having to open the box and see what's inside.
Gotcha.
And this is basically what FHE does, right? So when I make a transfer to smart contract, the smart contract is the button to paint it red. The data that's encrypted is the object inside the box.
Gotcha. Makes sense. And nothing happens to the UX UI, the feel of the chain. It's the same shit. Nothing happens.
Nothing. You use your Phantom MetaMask wallet, sign a transaction. As a developer, you're just writing Solidity code. You're pushing your contract to Ethereum. All of the magic is basically happening completely oblivious to the user and developers who are using this.
I hate to be this guy here, Rand, but this sounds too good to be true. Are there speed trade-offs, security trade-offs? Are there any trade-offs here?
Well, there used to be plenty. FHE is not a new idea. People have been working on this for over 50 years. My co-founder, Pascal Payet, is super famous researcher in this space, invented one of the first homomorphic encryption technologies.
I've never heard of this. Probably we've done 500 episodes. Not one person has ever brought up FHE. Not one person.
Well, because it didn't work. Right? Up until Zama, it didn't work, right? There were three main issues when we started the company in 2020. One, it didn't work, right? So you could barely do anything with FHE. You could maybe add numbers, but you couldn't run a smart contract. You couldn't do AI, any kind like that. We solved it. We invented an FHE technology that is applicable to any kind of application you want to do. That's done. The second problem is it was very hard to use as a developer. Unless you were a cryptographer yourself, most likely you would mess it up. It would not be secure. We've integrated FHE into existing developer flows. So there's nothing you have to worry about. You just write Solidity code, you push it to Ethereum, everything else is taken care of. And finally, there's a speed problem. FHE used to be extremely slow. The first time that we built like a version of the Zama protocol, we could barely do half a transaction per second, right? Here you would say like, okay, well, Bitcoin does less than that, so why not? But no, Solana does 5,000, right? That's really what you want to do. In the 2 years since we've been working on the Zama protocol specifically, we've gone from less than 1 transactions per second to, in 2026 on GPUs, 1,000 transactions per second, right? So we've 1,000x in over 2 years the speed of FHE. It's now getting to a point where we can run more transactions per second than Ethereum can support. And by next summer, we'll be able to go faster than most L2s are going today. So there is no longer a problem, really. Now at this point, FHE is just about make it faster, and making it faster is just using better hardware. That's it.
Interesting. Okay. So no trade-offs, realistically speaking. Like on the, at least on the user side of things, it looks, feels same as, the others. Log into your Phantom, log into your MetaMask, log into your Rabby and fire away.
I want to find a trade-off, but like the reason why Zama exists and the reason why we've been successful is precisely because those trade-offs are no longer trade-offs, right? So I think, it's just, I know it sounds absolutely crazy, but it would also have sounded crazy 5 years ago if I told you you could do 100,000 TPS in a public blockchain.
Yes,
And
yes.
yes, Solana proved it recently, right?
Yeah, it's
Like I
true.
think technology has this thing where people often misunderstand that things are exponential. Something that took 50 years to work, it's not going to take another 50 years to get twice better. It usually goes exponential. So it took 50 years to go from 0 to 1, then 10 years to go from, the 1 to 10, and so on and so forth. And the speed at which we're improving FHE at Zama today, every quarter, we're improving better than the year before that.
You guys are buzzing. I love it.
It's
Mate,
happening, man. It's
no,
happening.
you're on a roll here. We got to take a quick break. Give a huge shout out to our sponsor of the show. When we get back, we're going to keep buzzing on everything Zama related. Huge shout out to Prime XBT, longtime friends and longtime sponsors of the Crypto News podcast. We love the team at Prime XBT as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet, you can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XBT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News podcast. Use the promo code CryptoNews50, that's CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, that's CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Now back to the show with Rand. Okay. The protocol approach that you guys have brought, I absolutely love this. And I guess we'll start, I like sort of going problem and solution. One problem we have with crypto, I think, is the classification of how we put everything in buckets. I don't really think it's good from an investor standpoint. I get it, so you can find some comparables, but otherwise it's like, and again, I'm not a developer like you are, mate, but in regular web dev that's not Web3, C++, Java, Node, you name it, Python, I don't think we really put them in buckets. It's a programming language. It's sort of the exact opposite of crypto. At least in the research that I did, you guys, you're not an L1, you're not an L2, you're not an L3. What are you guys? How do you classify Zama?
Zama is a confidentiality layer on top of existing L1s and L2s.
Mm,
I think a good way to think about the way it works is take something like layer 0, right? Layer 0 allows you to bridge between multiple blockchains. They have their own set of operators running the layer 0 network, but there is no layer 0 chain. Zama is very similar in that sense. We sit on top of other blockchains to enable confidentiality on those chains. And there is a set of Zama operators that are basically running those encrypted computation on behalf of those other blockchains. So it's very similar. Like think of it as an extension of L1s and L2s rather than like an existing L1 or L2.
gotcha. Okay. So biggest comparison, excuse me, would be layer 0. And again, just not that
Like
it's
like a cross-chain protocol, right?
gotcha.
That basically adds like a feature to existing chains as opposed to being a new chain.
Gotcha. Okay. Token launch coming up. I'm
Yep.
biased. I love the ticker. I love everything that starts with a Z or a Z for my American friends.
I agree. Everything good starts with Z these days.
It's clean too, it's clean as hell.
Yeah.
Like it could. I also yeah. I just
Do you know where
I'm
it comes
biased,
from,
but I think it's
actually,
clean.
Zama?
I
Do
don't
you want the
know.
story? So I like thinking about names which are kind of one degree away from obvious. And Zama is the city where the Romans beat the Carthaginians, or basically Hannibal was defeated forever, right? It was a turning point in the war between Rome and Carthage because Carthage never recovered from this loss. We think that FHE is a turning point in the battle for privacy because once you encrypt everything with FHE, there's no going back to non-encrypted,
I love that.
blockchains. Pretty cool.
I love that. Candidly, and I mean, this is going to sound terrible, but we're always honest on the Crypto News podcast. I've spent a lot of time in Mexico over the last couple of years, Riviera Maya in Tulum. There's an area of Tulum where most people stay. It's called Aldea Zama. So that's like right away. That's the first thing I thought of. I was like, "Yeah, had some good times in Tulum." That's what I thought of.
I might have been a little bit influenced because I was actually in Tulum a year before starting Zama.
Okay.
So it must have been on the back of my
Yeah,
mind
yeah,
somewhere.
yeah. I love that. It was just brilliant. Walking through the token launch, this is, to my knowledge, the first ever on-chain sealed bid Dutch auction for Zama.
Correct.
Explain what
Yes.
what is that? How
Yep.
exactly does that go down?
Okay. So first of all, the important thing is we are launching mainnet before doing the token sale. And we're actually using Zama itself to hide the bids of people participating in the Zama auction.
Very cool.
So we're using Zama to sell Zama tokens, if that makes sense. So, this is not a pre-sale. We call that like a post-sale, post-mainnet launch sale. If you're a user and you want to buy Zama token to pay fees, if you want to become a validator, you just buy tokens in the auction and then you can use them immediately. The way the sealed bid auctions work, specifically sealed bid Dutch auction, they're not a new idea. They've been around for, I think, 5,000 years, right? The Greeks used to use Dutch auction to sell cattle. Google actually did a Dutch auction for their IPO. It's very, very, very common as a pricing mechanism
Mm.
for selling an asset. The way it works is you place a bid. The quantity of your bid is encrypted, so nobody knows if you're buying one token or a billion tokens, but the price is public. So people know that, Matt just placed a bid at $1, but I don't know if Matt is buying 1,000 tokens at
Okay.
$1,
Okay.
right? So you don't have this information. At the end of the bidding period, you go from the highest bid in terms of price, and you basically allocate the tokens, you fill the bids going from highest to lowest, and the lowest price at which a bid gets filled is the price everybody above ends up paying. And so that's the concept of a Dutch auction, is you basically don't use the highest price as a clearing price, you're using the lowest fill price as a clearing price. And so there's no advantage to overbidding because you're just going to get the same amount of token and a refund for the extra money. The most optimal strategy is to bid what you think the price is.
Mm.
And so as a pricing mechanism, it's extremely good. The problem is it only works if you can hide the bids, because otherwise people get influenced,
Get
bots can
hunted.
front
Yeah,
run
of
the
course.
auction.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? You'll just snipe in a mempool last minute. So you need Zama to run an actual proper Dutch auction on chain.
Very cool.
So I think it's great. And people ask me, why didn't you just launch, a whatever valuation? I'm like, because I think the price of something is whatever people say the price is.
Exactly.
If you believe in markets, then you should build a market to price your assets. And that's what we're doing for the Zama token. We're like, look, the price is whatever you guys say the price is.
I love that. I literally use the exact same, similar analogies, but I use sort of what exactly you said. The market is what the market thinks it's worth. When my non-crypto friends are like, why is Bitcoin worth 90K? Well,
Because people say it's
people
worth 90K.
think it's worth 90K. Why does your girlfriend want a Hermes bag? Because girls think it's worth 30K. To me,
everything's a meme coin.
Everything's a meme. When I see a girl with a Hermes bag,
Everything's a meme.
that does nothing for me. For me, it's like that's no different than my knapsack or a grocery bag. It's the same shit. It's a tote bag.
Yep.
There's no difference. But they think it's worth 30K, and you and I think Bitcoin's worth 90.
Yep.
Or Zcash 500. Anyways, okay.
Totally agree, man. Intrinsic value doesn't exist. There is only market value.
Yeah. Well said. Looking ahead, what can we expect next year, 2026? Zama, obviously, mainnet may be out by the end of this year.
By the end of the year, yeah.
Okay, it's mainnet end of this year. Token launch Jan.
It might, by the end of the year for sure.
Okay, token launch Jan. What about rest of 2026?
It's going to be focused on integrations and adoption. The goal for 2026 is to get Zama and confidential tokens integrated into as many places as possible. Wallets, custodians, exchanges, DeFi protocols, stablecoins, anything you want to do on chain or related to a blockchain, we want to have support for confidential tokens. So that's going to be a big part of 2026. The second objective is working on a set of use cases that we believe are going to be extremely important: payments, tokenization, and driving what we call TVS, total value shielded. I think for us in 2026, the goal is really just get as many people to start shielding assets and to start basically using those shielded assets. So TVS is going to be the North Star metric for Zama in 2026.
And TVS is total value shielded.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Wow, you have a couple bangers on the pod here today. Privacy is the final boss of blockchain. Zama is the confidentiality layer, and TVS total value shielded. I've never heard any of this stuff before.
I think TVS is going to be a real thing, man. I think it's going to be the
Yeah.
TVL of privacy.
Well, on Zcash, I was talking about the shielded Zcash as well. That
Yep.
was a big thing for a couple months. So
Yep.
this has been an absolute treat, man. Is there anything else, any hot takes, anything else you want to leave us with? Any Zama news you want to leave us with before we let you go today? This has been a blast, Rand. I'm super pumped you came on, and honestly, you know, over the Christmas break, yes, still grinding, still working, but I always try to scratch one little itch over the break as I do tend to have a bit more time away from the desk. I think I'm going to be doing a big old privacy deep dive. That might be my thing over the next little bit. But any hot takes can be outside of privacy, can be outside of Zama or Zama related. Anything you'd like to leave us with before we let you go today?
Yeah, I think maybe I just want to share a little bit of how I'm thinking about privacy long term, because Zama obviously, is a great, is a great product, and we're very proud that we've been able to launch it. First FHE protocol in production, by the way. The way I think about it is, if we do our job right, most blockchain transactions will be encrypted using Zama, right? In the same way that we went from no encryption on the internet to most web traffic being encrypted with HTTPS, the same is going to happen to blockchain. But you see, today, when you connect to a website, or when you send a message to someone on Telegram or on WhatsApp Signal, whatever, you don't think about privacy, because privacy has been guaranteed at the protocol level by design. And this is where we're hoping that things are going to go with blockchain as well. So if we do our job right, you don't even know that Zama is being used, because Zama is used everywhere all the time when you're making a transaction on chain. And so we really think of Zama as like HTTPS for blockchain, effectively. HTTPZ, if you want. So I know it sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but my goal is to make Zama invisible, not because people don't care, but because it's everywhere by default.
Just taking notes. I love that. That's another banger. Zama is like HTTPS for blockchain. Absolute banger. Mate, what an episode. Really appreciate you coming on. You made my head spin.
Thanks for having me.
In the best of ways. You put my head in a blender a little bit, but that's always good. Got some research to do. I got some homework to do. Listeners, I hope you guys enjoyed this one as well. Rand, before you leave us today, can you please let our listeners know where they can find you personally, and of course, everything Zama related online and on socials?
X is the best place. Zama is just at Zama, Zama, and I'm just at Rand Hindi, just my first name, last name.
How'd you snag the handle?
For Zama, there is a marketplace that you can buy handles now.
Oh, it was. You just did that? It was that easy?
No, it took us years.
Okay, I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, it was hard.
Okay.
Look, we felt we needed it.
No,
right?
it's a banger.
I'm still working on the at Rand, but the guy who owns it doesn't want to give it to me, so I'm still hopeful.
I love it, folks. What an episode. Absolute banger with Dr. Rand Hindi, founder and CEO of Zama. Guys, do go check them out. It was an absolute banger of an episode, and privacy is not going anywhere. So check out the show notes. Everything Zama related will be included in there. Huge shout out to Rand and the team for making this happen. If you guys enjoyed this one, I hope you did. Please do subscribe. Hammer that like button. As always, we appreciate you tuning in to my team. Love you. Thank you for everything. And to the listeners, you guys are the best. Enjoy your holidays. Merry Christmas. And keep on growing those bags. Keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Love you guys. See you on the next one. Ciao.